here.
Well, hello, I'm Debbie Kitterman, and welcome to Dare to Hear the podcast, where we equip you and challenge you to dare to hear the voice of God. Well, I am really excited to introduce my next guest, who I actually met when I was on the studio of Atlanta Live. And so I want to just read just a little bit, but I thought that we should hear from J.R. Reynolds in his own words, and he can tell us about him. But from his bio, J.R. Reynolds is a multi-award winning playwright, author, minister of music, and founder of Eagle Vision Productions. And he was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, but he lives in Atlanta, Georgia currently. And so welcome to Dare to Hear the podcast, JR.
Hey, thank you for having me, friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Well, it was so fun to, I was originally supposed to be in Atlanta and on Atlanta Live in March when the whole pandemic shutdown happened. I was on a book tour for my book that had just released in February, and then the studio closed. And I was like, but I flew all the way here. Okay. I know. Shocker, right? But as your song, which we're going to talk about, God has a plan, right?
Right.
Because then when things began to open up and I could get back on the schedule, they invited me back. It happened to be in October when you were also on the show. Yeah. And that was such a fun show. It was such a fun show.
It was.
Yeah. And you were the musical guest.
Yes.
But you're more than just a musical guest.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, can you is your microphone
Uh-oh. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Yeah. Every now and then you're like soft. So, okay. Technical difficulties. So no worries. The podcast, we can
Right. Exactly.
All right. So, JR, tell me about yourself. Like, tell our audience about you, what you're doing, and then we're going to dive into this God's Plan, which is actually a play and a single. So, but before we get there, tell us about you.
Yes. Again, so thank you for having me. Like she stated, we met on Atlanta Live, and the vibe there was that night was amazing. We also met Portia Stewart, so shout out to her as well. Like an awesome young woman doing things in Alabama. But my name is J.R. Reynolds. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina, but I've been in Atlanta for 20 years now.
Wow.
So I just turned 34, so I moved here at the age of 14, and I've been singing all my life. But now that I'm getting older, I've been doing a lot of other things, and so people don't even really know me as a singer. They know me as a playwright. So I had to change that up and put some music out and let them know I'm a gospel singer first. But I started singing early on. I've been singing all my life. Went through the ups and the downs of wanting to be a singer and passion and people hurting you and you knowing that you're gifted by God and you just want somebody to pour into you what you know is already there. So I went through all those things. I've been hurt and, cried. I've all that. But through it all, God was right there. He was molding me and shaping me to be who I am today and who I will continue to grow into be. Started a production company called Eagle Vision Productions, and that was started to give artists a platform just like myself. So we started doing stage plays as well as artist showcase. We have 3 stage plays now. Love Is All It Takes 1, Love Is All It Takes 2, and we have God's Plan. And then we have an artist showcase, which is called not the conversation. We're gonna talk about that, but we have the artist showcase called Word on the Street, and we also have an online talk show now called The Conversation. So we're doing some kingdom things. What the devil meant for evil, he thought I was gonna quit and give up. No, I just went harder for the Lord. So that's what we're doing.
That's the way I am too, JR, is like, oh, you thought you were going to take me out? Oh no. We're coming back and we're coming back with a vengeance. And so you can keep trying, but I'm going to keep standing up because God's on my side. I love all the stuff you're doing. And I do. And yes, shout out to Portia because she was on fire.
Oh my goodness.
She was so good. I was like, we need one of you where I live, Portia.
Come on. Yes, she is good.
She was so good. And so you guys they can go back on, I think, my Facebook page, and it was shared there. You have had clips from when you were on the show there too. It was just such a powerful time. And even though it's in the middle of the pandemic, so we couldn't actually have a bunch of audience members there, it was just kind of like if we had somebody, one person can come. And so it was a little different, but the Spirit of God just showed up in a mighty way. And you sang, and then we connected afterwards, and you gave me the link to your play, and I watched it. And then I only got part way through because it was so we had to drive back to South
Right.
Carolina. And so I watched part of it and then I just rewatched the whole thing again. And so can you talk to me about I know you have a single called God's Plan that came from the play, but the play itself, because I write plays too for our church and we do that. That's something that there's something about drama. And I talked about with this to you, I think in the parking lot, right?
Right.
Because it was so late when we're done, that there's something about drama that one draws people in and it connects with a different part of them that they might not come into a church, they might not listen to a preacher, but when they get the truth of the gospel in the form of a drama or a play or conversations, they will hear that. And so what you're doing is definitely kingdom work. But talk to my audience a little bit about what God's Play is. What was the story behind it? Like what was the inspiration? And then let's talk about your single too. So
Okay, cool. So it's kind of crazy how it came about. My friend, shout out to her. I'm actually an acting coach. Y'all, I do everything. So hey, I'm gonna be one of those guys with the talents. I ain't burying nothing. Okay,
right.
so I'm a child's acting coach at Hot Theater for Children. So we teach acting to children, and she has an annual event called Rep Your Act. And I was the writer for Rep Your Act. So what Rep Your Act is, all actors come and they compete, and one of those parts of the showcase where they had to they had to perform the script that I wrote. So I wrote a snippet, just the first little part, like a little scene of God's Plan. It wasn't God's Plan. I just wrote a scene. And then so the next year I'm like, hey, well, I already got something written. Let me. So I took that out and I rewrote, I wrote a whole play, and it titled it God's Plan. And what that simply is about, it's about a family who are trying to conceive. They see everybody trying to give birth, giving birth. And there is another lady in the story who can care less about her child. And, it's a lot of people out here can care less and they're having babies left and right. But this one woman who's like, Lord, I done it all. I'm a good wife. I'm a good worker. I'm a kingdom citizen. I love you, but I cannot conceive. So, of course, throughout the play, she's hearing testimonies, hold on, blah, 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 which is the truth. You know what I'm saying? So what she did is
You
she
might not want to hear it in the moment,
right,
but it is the truth.
Right, exactly. So she held on, and y'all got to watch the play. God gave her triple, so she wanted one, but God, blessed her with more. And you never believe kind of where I got the research from. During this time, Gabrielle Union was talking a lot about her not being able to have a child. Do you remember that, Gabrielle Union?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, she's Dwayne Wade, the basketball player, his wife was trying to have a child a few years ago and she couldn't. And she was saying all this stuff that she went through. And so I kind of just took it off of her, hey, and
that's real. And it touches so many people. I mean, my kids are 28 and my daughter will be 26 this year. And so, but I remember when I was back trying to get pregnant that there was some issue, like, Lord, what's going on? Miscarriages, like all this stuff. And so it was such a relatable story, even to me, who I'm not in that, but it so hit a chord in my heart. And I was just like, I'm watching it. My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching this play again. And he's like, oh, okay.
Right.
It was such a redemptive story of really, like, we only see our part and we forget that God's got a bigger plan going on here if we'll just trust him. And that's the song that you sang.
Yes.
On Atlanta Live. And I love it. And people can get the single. It just came out actually, didn't it? In September of 2020?
September, yes. It's still new, y'all. It's still new.
It's still new. And it's so timely. And it's like, it's timeless. It's not going to, it doesn't matter what year it is or when it came out. It's so relevant.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to write, honestly.
Yeah. Because it's so good. Like, okay, so I think now I'm trying to like remember some of the words, but it's like, trust him, believe him. He's got a plan, like hold on. Like, and
Yes.
I think even right now in our nation, like, we got to trust God. Like things may not have worked out the way some people think, or they may have worked out the way some people wanted.
Come
And,
on.
we got people on different sides, but what we have to do is trust and hold on and believe that God's got a bigger plan that
Yes.
we don't see. And we just have to ask him what our part is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So good.
And,
So
and I
good.
also like to say, not to cut you off, only way we can know what God's plan is to get in his plan. We have to get in his word. We have
Yeah.
to get a relationship with him. We have to know who he is. So we can be saying God's plan, but if you don't have a relationship with him first, which
Yep.
he wants us all to have one, a prayer life, getting in your word, you will not know your plan. You're going to be so sad out here during this pandemic. You're gonna be going crazy. Things gonna be hitting you. But if you're in His Word and you know His plan, you can count it all joy, because His
Yeah.
plan is to
That
prosper
is
us.
so good. That is so good, Jared. And the thing that with the conversations, talk to me about that, because I've been watching you and people are like, oh my gosh, in the middle of the pandemic, I'm like, I have had so many inspirations from God. Like so many ideas have come out of this and directions that he's taking me, because, just because we're in a pandemic and we're shut in our house doesn't mean God isn't still moving and he's not
Ooh,
still
come
speaking.
on.
Yeah. So talk to me about your new show, The Conversations, and what that is and how people can find you on that if they want to listen
Yes,
in.
yes, yes. So we are on YouTube, Facebook, and actually I'm a influencer for a network called the Kingdom On Demand Network, and you can download that app. And we have Eagle Vision TV, and that's where the conversation comes on. It's super awesome. And what that simply is, and actually it was birthed out of the pandemic. I was at home on the phone with my uncle, which is my best friend, and we just talking like we always do. And he like, we should start a show. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So me, being the entrepreneur and the kingdom guy I am, the next day I started this show. Okay, had
Love
no
it.
clue, had no nothing. I went and bought the app that I use, the program that I use, and started it. But guess who didn't come with me?
Your uncle.
Come on now. Come on. Right. Exactly. I don't play when it comes to kingdom. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like if God told me to do something, I'll go along. You know
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
do
saying?
it.
So he still watches and tunes in, but he did not come on the show with me, y'all. But it's all good. It was birthed during the very first part of the pandemic, and we have been going since. And it's actually, I'm going to be honest, and now is a part of my business. So it's a part of promo. So artists call in and they get their package, whatever they want, and it's a part of the promo. We talk to entertainers, actors, anybody doing anything positive in the community. I mean, we've talked to a little bit of everybody, and it's been going great. We're in our second, I guess, not season, but since it's the new year, we're,
Yeah.
vamping up to do some more. We start again next week. So super excited. The conversation, I got to have you on. You know that. You know
Yeah,
it.
I'm so there. I'm so there. You
Yes,
just tell me
I'll send
when.
you the
I'm
link.
so there. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've talked about Eagle Vision Productions a couple of times. So let's talk about that too. So if people are looking for that, and just so people know, we're going to put all the links, because JR is going to send them to me so that we get
I
them
got
right. He's going to send me all the links that we're talking about. They'll be in the show notes. So all you got to do is click on that, and then you can go find all of his stuff. But talk to me about Eagle Vision Productions and what all it entails, because you kind of gave us a little bit, but like what are you doing now and all that.
Yes, yes, yes. So now so Eagle Vision, like I said, is the brand, the company, and that is a production company. We put on stage plays, we put on artist showcase, and we now market. I do marketing now for artists and promotions, and I also have a few artists that I manage. So I'm super excited about that. They're going to be releasing some new music. But Eagle Vision was birthed me being the very first artist,
Mhm.
me being that one, like, Lord, I just wish that somebody would help me. I know that you're my help. I know you're all I need, but it's good for somebody else, for you, when you're sowing, for somebody else to sow back into you. So it was started when I was 19 years old. The very first song released was ATL Pray, that I did for my senior project in high school. And I actually ended up putting that out as a single, and it did very well. And so, yeah, I'm just here. I'm that guy that wants to help you if you want to help yourself. I've learned who I am in Christ. And of course, I'm growing daily and daily. So I built my confidence up. And I just want to help you get to where you want to be. But during this whole process, I've learned that nobody's going to give you anything for free, and that you have to want it for yourself. I don't want to work with anybody that don't want to want it for themselves, because this is a passion thing for me. This is something that God has given me. So I want the best, or I want the ones that want to be the best, that we can cultivate you and make you be the best. But the best is a mindset, because I know some people that can't sing a lick and are the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's a mindset, and I'm just excited about what God is doing. We have so much going on. I'm an actor. I actually start shooting. Look, I had to do a corona test today. I'm supposed to be there right now, but I canceled it, and because I forgot. Yeah, and I scheduled it. And so I get to go tomorrow, but I'm shooting a movie tomorrow, this weekend. So we have to get our corona test and all that. So we rocking and rolling, and it's all for the glory of God.
Yeah,
See
it is so good. And I know, you know, I don't know. I'm just going to prophesy this over you. I think like your testimony, your story, like I think that there's a book in there of something that you need to come out. I just
Man.
kind of saw that because life hasn't always been easy for you.
No.
And you know, just kind of some of what you had shared a little bit when we were on Atlanta Live, and then just talking and then watching your Facebook, you know, because I'm one of those Facebook, well, I'm like watching him. I think this is awesome. And so life hasn't been easy, but here is the testimony of God's got a plan. I got to trust him in it all. That came
Yes.
from the depth of what you've walked through. And not only that, but what you can impart to people. And I love not just the passion, but I love the fortitude in which you are going forward and that you're not backing down from a challenge. Because all too often I would be like, well, I need somebody to come along and then I'll do it.
Me
You know?
too.
Yeah.
No
And then I
more.
would be like, well, I can't do it without them. And then the Lord's like, would you just
Come on.
trust me? You know, and now I'm like, okay, I can do anything. Hey, God, if you're saying it, I'm going to do it. And they can come along for the ride, or it's just going to be me and you, God. And that's what I think I love about you. And you inspire that. And you're so encouraging and so passionate about the things that God has given you. And you don't shy away. I mean, you might, you know, but you do it.
Come on. Right.
And that's the thing, right? Like you might go, oh, but you still do it anyways. You do it in spite of what you might be feeling or sensing. You're like, I'm just going to be obedient to the Lord. And I think that's something that is empowering to a lot of people. And so thank you for that.
No problem. No problem. I tell people all the time, I'm the shyest person you probably will ever meet. People are like, are you kidding me? I am very shy, but I do it. I do it. And
Yeah.
it's a great reward. Not that we do it for the reward, but it's a great reward being obedient to what God has called you to do. It truly is. It really is.
It really is. It really is. As we kind of end today's podcast episode, I definitely want you to tell people how they can get connected with you, and then we'll have those in the show notes. But besides doing this filming that you're doing, is there anything else new on the horizon that you haven't stepped into yet?
So this quarter, first quarter, I'm just going to keep on pushing my single. I'm going to keep on pushing the play, keep on pushing the conversation. Next quarter, we have a new book coming out to teach y'all how to engage on social media. Because last year, actually at the beginning of the pandemic, when I started my show, I actually started taking some courses, and that's what really got me engaging on social media. I would get on social media, post here, post there, but these courses I took really taught me to engage. So I want to, I have a book, it's already written, even though I'm going to come back and write the book that you're talking about, because that book needs to be released.
That book
But
needs to be released too.
Yes, yeah, but I'm not there yet, Debbie. Keep on praying for me, because it's gonna be released though. It definitely is. But
Well,
yes, so
awesome.
I'll
You know,
have
when I just see that, I'm like, I see a book, I see your story, I see this empowering and encouraging, because
Jesus.
people are like, oh, well, he must have had it easy his whole life.
Woo.
Psst, if you
Yeah,
only knew, right?
many tears. And I'm not even trying to bash pastors, but heartache and hurt and like, Lord, I'm just doing this for you, God. This is just for you. And
Yeah,
people in church mad because you can sing, and mad because you're doing what God called. This
I
ain't for
know.
me.
I
You
know.
know,
I
so yeah.
know. We could do a whole podcast episode on that, right? Because it's like, come on, church, get behind. Like, there is plenty to go around. This is not a zero sum game that we're in. This is the kingdom of God is
Yes,
abundant. And
yes, yes.
we fill our spot. And just because we're doing something, there's still plenty to go
Oh
around
my
for other
goodness.
people in the same arena. And
The
we just
laborers
love
are
this.
few. The harvest is plenty.
Yeah, exactly. So good. Okay, so I always ask my guests, and I didn't prep you this in advance. So I always ask my guests before we end the podcast episode if there's something they want to pray or that they want to declare or release over the audience based on whatever God is giving you. So I'll give you a second to think about that. But then while you're thinking about that, why don't you tell us how we can connect, how people can connect, how can they download your single, and we will get you'll send me the link for, how they can get all of that, but you tell them too, for those that are just listening.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. So I will send the link and it'll be a link tree. So it'll be multiple links under that one link and you can just get connected with all of that. But if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can find us at Eagle Vision Productions or Richard J.R. Reynolds anywhere, as well as on anywhere music is sold. God's Plan, Richard J.R. Reynolds on there as well. So let's stay connected. Let's be in touch.
There you go. And I will, as promised, he will send me those links and we'll make sure that they are the correct ones and all there. And then all you got to do is a click of a button and you can get connected with JR. So, all right. So is there a prayer or a declaration or anything that you want to just release over the audience today?
Sure. I would want to release, be encouraged, do it courageous, be bold and very courageous of the things that God has called you to do. Know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Know that you are the head and not the tail. Know that God is in you. So you have no reason to fear. I say this, if God told you to sell some bubble gum, if he told you to make some lemonade, you better make it and watch how God blesses you for your obedience. So just whatever that thing is that God has been tugging at your heart, that you know that you're called to do it in this season. Don't be caught being disobedient, because I think we talked about that when you were at Atlanta Live in the little green room. Don't be caught being disobedient, because you do not want that. Seriously.
Yeah, you do not want that.
Do we called you to do? Seriously.
We did talk about, I totally forgot about that, JR. We did talk about that. All the fun conversations happen in the green room before we get on the stage, because then it's like, shh.
Right.
But we had a great time. It was so awesome. Like, while I was discouraged that I couldn't be on Atlanta Live when I'd already flown out there in March, it was God's plan to bring me back, which totally is the message of your recent play, your single. It is inspiring. It is motivating. It is something that has been on repeat for me, and other people can, because while it is very timely, it's also timeless, because there's always going to be time when people are discouraged. There's always going to be time. And just to tag on what you just released, I just want to say this over all of the listeners and viewers today, is that yes, we're in the middle of a global pandemic and it seems like there's a lot of challenges ahead of us, but God is a God of abundance and he's a God of revelation, and he wants to release to all of us entrepreneurial ideas. He wants us to step up into what his kingdom purposes is, and that is for us to start aligning with his plan and stepping out and being bold and courageous and not shying away from those things. And so I just really want to release that over you guys today. Well, JR, thank you again for joining me today on the podcast.
Of course. Look, you knew since October we said this was going to happen, so it happened. So yes,
it did happen. It just took till January. Those holidays kind of got in my way.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll have you back, because I know that there's so much more coming out and that you have in the works. So this will be like we'll have you back. We'll revisit. We'll check things out when stuff releases. You just keep tabs on me. I'll keep tabs on you, and we'll do that. So sound good?
It sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Dare to Hear the podcast, where we encourage you to dare to hear the voice of God. I'm Debbie Kitterman. If you've been encouraged in any way, we would be honored if you would subscribe to the podcast or our YouTube channel. Also, if you could leave a review so other people know what you think about it. And finally, share this episode and get the message out there about J.R. Reynolds, about his single God's Plan and his Eagle Productions ministry and just everything that he has involved. And make sure to click on those links that are in the show notes so that you can connect with him. Again, thank you for listening to Dare to Hear the podcast. We look forward to having you join us next week. Until God bless and goodbye.
I'm not in the rain, I'm not in the winds of the hurricane. Look to me, I'm drawing you near. I have called you, did it hear? 'Cause there's peace in my presence, so do not fear. Oh, do not fear. I have called you, did it hear? I'm not in the shaking that shatters the rocks. I'm not in the fall of the mountaintops. I'm not in the fire and consuming flame. I'm in the whisper that calls your name. 'Cause there's peace in my presence, so do not fear. Oh, do not fear. I have called you, did it hear?